because of stress? Like, just do it. Did they fix it at all, or they just checking it out?
Well, sorry, I like to today.
Have you done your wedding yet?
I read today.
Yeah? Yeah, I've done 2 minutes. It's just a bit. It's like, how do they judge it? I messaged a girl, I'm like, can you read both of these and tell me which one's better? Like, which one's more aligned with the task? He's like, I can't do that again, but it's so simple. I made like a 0. I'm like, well, yeah. But still, that's up. I mean, exactly. I probably just suck at everything else. RT, microchains, and is it not right? I don't know, but it's like maybe we have a first thing. It's like not missing at all.
How do you guys start?
I made a Facebook group. That's a good start. Wait, where is it? Read that to Kelly, by the way. Kelly, this is Theodore. Can you hear Theodore? Thank you for coming. I didn't do the round of Facebook posts. There it is. There's the bombshell.
I saw a girl that was exactly like you in my class. I was so good on the picture and I was like, I have no idea what she makes.
Andrew.
Are we sticking with the mic or should I speak without it? Damien, what day? fun of it.
Should I speak with this? Testing 1, 2.
That's good. One of the guys here, Damien, Andreason, he started a company called LawPath. It's basically lots of law consulting and everything. It's pretty interesting. So, it's staying well. It's a new I'm going to go to the city to speak. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure everything goes right. I don't want to miss out on
Slides are ready to go straight away. So Damien speaking first. I'll let you know.
We'll get started soon, everyone. Not too long, about 10 minutes. It's not since we're doing it.
FPS to like options. Yeah, is that alright?
That was the message video.
That's alright.
Yeah, but everyone's going to keep that.
That's not fair.
So, what are the things what they are?
Oh, I can see it anyway. I've got that up.
And then,
If you don't know, just put it on.
It would have been nice, but it's just
If you do that, I'll do it. Yeah? I mean, do you want to do moderation?
well, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes it stick to it. I can still do it. I don't know what to say. The audience
I'm just thinking, but I've been thinking of this, but yeah,
yeah.
how I would
Fair enough.
How's the video going? Is it alright?
Do you know what times?
So if you have a MacBook charging cable with you that I could borrow? Okay, buddy. I can help
Just all good now? So we're working live? And audio is good as well. Can I have a listen?
So everyone will be starting in 5 minutes, so if you're going to make any bathroom breaks, maybe do that now. Okay, cool. Keep talking. Alright guys, let's get it started. Thank you everyone for your patience. It's all been very kind of you to wait like this. What a great turnout. Can I get a round of applause to start it up? Just a bit of housekeeping before we start. The way it's going to work is the speakers will all speak for about 15 to 20 minutes, then we'll have about a 10-minute Q&A session. If you do need to go to the bathroom or leave, please wait until these sessions have ended. And then, by the way, the men's bathroom is just down the corridor on the right, and the women's are all the way down at the end. Alright, so let's get it started. So, I'm sure a lot of you in this room are sitting here, some with business ideas and some without, wondering whether or not you should take that leap into entrepreneurship, or stay here, finish your degree, and actually go into the corporate world. Some of you are already taking this leap, and while studying, are actually working on businesses part-time. I'm jealous of you guys, nice work, you're who we're looking up to. So the Asia Pacific Student Entrepreneurship Society is who we are, and we're here to facilitate this decision, aiming to provide knowledge and inspiration through events such as today, other workshops, programs, and our weekly meetups to help you really take your first steps on your entrepreneurial journey. So today is our first keynote speaker series where the theme is concept to creation. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, I have these ideas in my head, or maybe you don't have them, you just want to start a business. So how do you take these ideas and actually make it happen? How do you make them a reality, and how do you chase that dream and that journey? So basically that's what the theme for today is. So as you'll find out, our keynote speaker series today strongly embody today's theme. All highly skilled professionals in their fields, our speakers manage to learn from their surroundings, identify areas which could use improvement, and manage to fix these areas and actually make a career out of it. Alright, so without further ado, I'd like to formally introduce you to today's speakers. We have Damien Andreason, Monica Wulff, and Huynh. Let's hear a round of applause. Alrighty, so first up, Andreason is the co-founder of LawPath, the startup which aims to modernize the legal industry by removing traditional cost barriers and making the process simpler for small to medium business owners. The startup provides legal documents such as non-disclosure, intellectual property, and shareholders agreements, allows people to apply for trademark as well as bring people in contact with the network of over 650 lawyers. The company also experienced an 800% increase in revenue and grew its user base by 400% in the space of 1 year. Well done. Since launching in 2013, LawPath has helped 13,000 Aussie small to medium enterprises save a combined $6 million in legal fees. Welcome, Damien.
Hi guys, thanks for having me today. Just a bit of a background on what I want to take you through today. Taking an idea and turning it into a concept is probably the hardest piece. Where to start, what are you looking at, what's the problem you're trying to solve, and how do you go about putting the foundation blocks in place. One of the biggest things that I've experienced through the past 6 years in which I've been involved in startups is that taking the first step is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong step, just so long as you commit to doing something, you start that process. From there, you'll start to learn a whole host around what your assumptions were, start validating them, iterating, and getting closer and closer to the ultimate solution. What I want to do today is give you a little bit of a background about how LawPath went through that process, some of the things that we found beneficial, some of the things that have worked and found for us, and how we get to this point today. A bit of background for myself. This is my third startup that I've been involved with. The first was a group buying company that did quite well for itself called Sprees. I'm not sure about the story, but we did manage to get an exit out to Yahoo. Whilst that was ramping up, I also was involved, founded a business called Search Party, which is a recruitment database. Thirdly, LawPath. The reason why I talk about this is because, as you can see, there's a whole host of different industries involved there. It's not one particular thing. It's really more about, for me, the passion of the challenge, how you actually go about thinking about the challenge, and what you can do to actually solve that challenge for the consumer or the end user. So I will go through, thanks very much. So I'm going to go through a bit of a journey with you guys to give you a bit of an understanding again about how LawPath went about solving these problems. So the first thing we looked at was identifying the problem. Having been through setting up 3 businesses, 3 startups myself, my founders, part of who was Pollenizer and a lawyer, and also set up probably about 20 to 30 of their own businesses. One of the things we noticed every time we went through the process was there was an incredible expense up front to set up the right structure of your business from an accounting and also a legal perspective. And the reason why you put that structure in place to make future work. The problem is, at the stage where you're spending tens and thousands of dollars for legal, you don't actually have any value in the business that you're protecting at that stage, it's a future value. So what that does is draw a huge amount of capital, your MVP or your first hire or everything else that you need to do to take that concept and start making it into reality. So for us, that was a huge pain point. What we noticed as well through that process was that every time we did a shareholders agreement, an employment contract, a signed IP, or created a business entity, the outcome was virtually the same. We were literally getting different lawyers, very similar contracts, very similar templates that had minor adjustments in clauses, details of the business, etc. So what we started to realise was there was a bit of a pain point from us. The pain point was that we were spending way too much to create a structure for a business that had no inherent value at that stage to try and protect ourselves from future value in that structure. The other pain point for us was that the process was repeatable. It was just done in a really inefficient way. So we started thinking about what can we do to make legal easier for people like ourselves. We went through, we understood that for us it was a real problem. We looked at who else is facing this problem. We asked how big, what was the size of the industry we were looking at, how many people does this affect from grand scale, and also was there anyone else in Australia who was already trying to solve this problem, e.g. was there a market leader, was the market already in capacity, how many competitors were out there, did a bit of a competitive landscape or a bit of an early stage support analysis if you will. So as I talked about before, we had felt the pain. And the pain that we felt was the fact that it was complex, it was time consuming and very expensive to put the right infrastructure in place. The second thing we did is we went out and we surveyed 30 founders and we wanted to understand from their perspective if they felt the same pain. They all came back with the same pain and they agreed with us. So what we started to do there was very early stage validation that it wasn't just us that was feeling it, there were other people out there that were also feeling the same way about the legal process. The great thing for us was there was really no one in Australia that was solving the problem at that stage. Things have changed now, there's quite a few competitors in the market, but at that stage it was blue sky. So what we saw from that was a huge opportunity to be able to get market lead and that first mover advantage. So what we always like to do, what I always like to do, coming from a sales background, is try and create the most simple understanding of what that problem is. And so for us, every business needs legal services. And for me, that's a real big deal. It's not a nice to have. It's not something that will, necessarily tweak the metrics of your business or show yourself on social better, but it's a foundation element to your business that every single business needs. So that opened up the scope for who's going to be potential customers in the future for us. One of the really interesting things that we noticed, and also from other founders in the survey, was a lot of people were avoiding legal because of those pain points, the cost, complexity, and the time it takes. The next big thing we looked at was the size of the market, and this is an important one as well. Having the size of the market lets you know how big you can potentially scale, and it starts to create the foundation of how you start forecasting and planning and growth of the business. If you're solving a really big problem for two people, it's not a problem that should be done with the startup. It's not something that technology should be applied to. You want to solve a really big area of knowledge that is developed by as many people as possible. So 2 million registered businesses in Australia, 50,000 lawyers, and the value of the industry globally is 20 million. So for us, that was a big green tick. This was something that we wanted to go after. This was something that we wanted to take the next step into solving. So we identified that problem, and for us that was that first step. The next thing we were looking at was the solution. And this is a difficult one because solutions become in very different shapes and sizes. You can go out and you can build a very complex tech product, or it can be a service that can be very simple and limited. For us, what we want to identify is who is the target customer. We had two. What we realised was it wasn't just the SMEs that needed the help. There was also the lawyers at the other end, very similar to any other double-sided marketplace. They wanted more introductions to new users and to be able to increase their revenue. We started having a look at the benefits that the solution would provide. So attacking all those previous pain points, it would make acquiring legal services faster, simpler, and more affordable for every business in Australia. Then we started thinking about how we measure success. For me, having, even from the earliest days, a way to gauge your success is very important because it keeps you on track for what you're trying to achieve, and you keep looking back at the best way to try and continue to achieve that. So the first cut from LawPath was a really simple premise. It was our MVP for Wulff, and it was that we were going to charge SMEs $49 a month just to give them access to 1 hour of legal advice. The traditional would cost you $300 plus. The benefit for the user was that they would get cheap access to the advice they needed. For the lawyer, it was good because they got access, to a new customer. One was a lost leader, and they didn't get the $300 for the first hour, but then it was very cheap for them. So that was the first cut that we went through. When you start looking at the problem and the solution together, you start coming up with what we call the elevator pitch, which is an important thing to be able to really put together, because the elevator pitch is the high level and very simple concept of what you're creating. Using the elevator pitch correctly will get investors interested, co-founders interested, all sorts of important people. You're going to need to take along that ride, interested in what we're actually doing. So the elevator pitch will always evolve over time. And for us, what we stood with was technology-powered legal services for SMBs with a fraction of the time, cost, and complexity of the traditional model. We address the $20 billion industry with over 2 million potential customers. And for us, when we go to market, we raise capital. That's one of the first slides we put up there so that everybody immediately understands the what, the how, and the why. One of the most important things that you will do along the process of actually building your MVP or taking from a concept to creation is actually forming your very early, usually a founder team. Picking the right founders is one of the most important things that you can do. You're not always going to get it right, not everyone's going to be able to commit for the long term, but there's a way that you can structure it that I believe works very well. The techie, marketing, and sales, otherwise known as the geek, the hacker, and the hustler. Now, the reason why I like this trio of founders and as a kind of starting position to be able to pull concepts into actually working model, the reason I like this is because not only does it cover all the elements that you will need to be able to start building a website, building a technical solution, getting in front of your audience, and then also monetizing that audience, is that it follows. Has everyone ever heard of lean start or lean methodology? Is that something most people are aware of? Right. So it follows the idea of the basic principles of lean startup. Build, measure, and learn. And through the combination of having a tech, a marketer, and a sales guy, you can go through that over and over again. And it helps you to move from the MVP and start iterating into future versions of the One of the biggest things I would say for everybody who's looking to build a team is to find people who can execute. What do I mean execute? You don't want strategists. You don't want people who can sit around and have strategy meetings all day. What you want is people who can actually get hands-on and do the work themselves. There's a really big difference between a strategist who wants to sit around and someone who will get in and do the coding, go out and do the sales, be able to get into SEO or SEO and start actually creating things. So getting people with hands-on and willing to execute is very, very important. It's seriously never ever been easier to create a working MVP for any idea that you have. And the reality is, given 2 weeks part-time work, is you can have a website running with a basic premise, a basic way of capturing a user and potentially even monetizing that user. For us, if we went back to what LawPath's original cut was, $49 for 1 hour with a lawyer. Now the reality is all that was a landing page with a form and Kapcher, and then we used Xero to process an invoice. So we were just using 3 systems to be able to capture the user. The back end of the delivery was all manual. Every single piece of it was manual. And to this day, every time we generate a new product or come up with a new concept, we keep it manual for a minimum of 3 months. And the reason being is keeping it manual will teach you more about the business and save you development costs and making early stage development mistakes. And so as you learn through that manual process, you get the feedback, you look at it, you measure it, you understand what you're doing, then you go through and you start building the MVP. So for me, that's been a really big trick that we still put in place today. Even our quick quotes process, which is probably one of the biggest roadblocks on LawPath, for the past 4 months has been completely manual. With even me on the phones, taking phone calls, closing business. To understand the process, we're now only in the phase of actually creating that complete solution. So if you go through the idea of creating an MVP, you've got all of these different products. I'm sure most of you are aware of these: websites, WordPress scripts, website design, logo designs, photo designs. Finder is fantastic for really simple spell jobs. Data capture and email, pseudonym type form, campaign monitoring. There's quite a few Australian tech companies on this list as well, which is really encouraging to see. And some of the other relational stuff, Slack, Xero, CRM, Xero, obviously LawPath, sorry guys. And everything we still run a considerable amount of our business off really boxes and really so how do you measure success? We were talking about this before. You've got your MVP up, it's your first website, you capture your customers that are coming through, how do you know you can book contract? I just broke it down to really simple steps. At a very early stage, what we want to get is our first 20 users. A user doesn't necessarily mean that they're monetized, they're just people who have signed up. That can be from a newsletter, whatever it may be, premium process that you're going through. Turn 5 of those 20 customers into paying customers. And from those 5 customers that are paying, get one of them to give you the feedback. And it's just a funnel. And really all of this, everything you look at, a lot of tech companies this is about fun and increasing the conversion rates all the way through the funnel. Get your audience, convert them into a user, convert them into sales, get the feedback from the people. The better you create that funnel, the better it is. So for us, that was a really easy way at a very early stage to have a look at how we measure success. Once we achieve that, we start to stretch ourselves. We times it by 10, times it by 20. And that's how you start working through those different areas. It all comes back again to build, measure, and test. I'm always big fan of data. The more insights you can have into what you're doing, especially as you start developing a real product and users to engage with that product, the better you become at understanding what is working, what isn't working. Things like Keynote, segment, full story, all fantastic in software and systems to be able to understand all that. So iterations. I really love this slide. So I just think it shows exactly what it's about. It's not about the continuation of trying to improve a model that's not working. It's about improving that model over time. And that's certainly something that LawPath has done. If we talk about where we were at the beginning and the model that we were using, as I was talking about, was the $49 for an hour worth of the lawyer's time, that has changed dramatically over the past 3 years. But it has taken us 3 years to get there. And what you see today is a very different business to where we were 3 years ago. We now have an online legal pub that's intelligent. Within 5 minutes of a user logging on, we can understand where the legal gaps are in their business. We can make recommendations as to what steps they need to take to close those gaps. That might include using some of our documents, registering a company, getting legal quotes, getting patents. So as you can see, there is definitely an evolution there, but it takes time and it takes a lot of different iterations and measuring success to get from that concept to the final story. It's a really long way to go. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of tenacity. But really the most important thing as we go back is identifying what's the big problem that you want to solve. Is it a worthy problem that you're trying? And what's the solution you want to put in place as a big one? Keep it light, simple, and just take the first step. And that's it for me.
Guys, how about that? That was some incredibly valuable information, wasn't it? These are things that if we all take our own entrepreneurial journey, these are, time-saving measures, extremely valuable lessons to listen to. So thank you very much, Damien, for that. That was fantastic. Do we have any questions, guys? Yep.
How do you secure funding for your idea? Like initially, it's very hard to make people realize that it's a successful idea. So how did you secure funding?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Look, we were lucky enough at LawPath to have founders capital. So we were able to put some money into it. That's a bit of an unusual outcome. Not everybody has that access to capital. But part of the reason why I put up that MVP slide around all those different processes that are involved, a lot of those services are not going to cost you more than $40 a month. If you can scrape together between you and your founders $500 a month for you all put in, that's total, then you can start coming up with that MVP. And what most investors want to see is that you take the first step yourself. You put some risk into it, some entrepreneurial risk. You put some of your own capital in the back end. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000. They want to see that you're back with your money. And then they just want to see you starting to make those first few steps towards success. Monetization with really early business stage is not really that important. It's really more about getting users on board, validating the idea very early, and then you can go out. There's a whole host of different ways that you can raise capital. So you see funds one, there's a lot of different funds that are out there. You can go to incubators, or you can try and plug into the high net worths. That's usually the hardest stage. But I would say, at the very early stage, get as much cash as you can between you and your founders, and just start making a website and start putting the pieces in place so you can prove, or at least try to validate a little bit more.
Thank you.
How did you truly know that you reached product market fit? Was it an increase in customer service?
Yeah, it was. So it was actually also, we had just a really nice feedback loop. We'd always ask the customers what they think about how they can improve. One of the big things that we've always done is keep really close communication with our customers. So I think for us it was the moment where we probably started, which had shifted from getting about 200 customers a month to about 2,000. That's when that acceleration happened. It wasn't with a huge amount of new expense. We just saw that people come onto the platform really quickly because it was solving a problem. But I think more than that, that's a bit of a vanity metric, but what was more than that is that we saw people coming back and solving more problems. So a customer might come in and do their company registration with us. Then they go into the platform and they'll do a couple of documents, and then they'll go and ask for a quote on the lawyer. So the more a user engages with different run some types of services within the platform and feel like we've solved the problem from an MVP perspective.
All their capabilities that they still
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, it's an interesting one because we've shifted. You know, the business has grown for sure, and it's shifted in terms of what its scope was originally presented. We probably had a bit of a false positive early on. Maybe the first year we felt we made it, and the product market fit was there. We're really happy with that. It was great. It was good timing. But as soon as we started digging into the data more, we realised that it wasn't as good as what we hoped it would be, and it wouldn't scale or go as far as we hoped it would be. So we started having to look at that and then creating our next product market fit, if you will. So I think it's really just an ongoing process. You know, unless you're zero and you've got, you know, a couple of 100,000 customers that are there and making millions of dollars, until that stage, you're probably still working through that product market fit. Thank you. Yeah, content's massive. Really, really big. So we try and write about 5 articles a day in a post up. At the moment, that's probably about 60% of our traffic from a content perspective, because what's really interesting to us is that, like the most other entrepreneurs, there's a huge knowledge gap in terms of what they know they need to do with legals and what they don't. So content's been really, really helpful for us because there's a lot of social benefits. Obviously, online AdWords, whilst expensive, it's a really easy way to get a bit of a feedback loop in terms of what's the CPA for the customer, what are conversion rates, etc., etc. We've also looked channel partners is big for us as well. We work with a whole host of different businesses ranging from payment gateways through to web design agencies through to industry associations, because every business, like I was saying before, needs legal. We have a freemium model that gives away the first option for free, so it's a really good conduit for us to be able to solve our channel partners' problems and the products. So that's probably the free. Yeah, really difficult. There's no one way you find it except for the way being involved with the network at early stage, having conversations with different type of people, asking for introductions is the most important thing, but that's probably one of the most typical things to do. We see regularly with a lot of our customers, you know, founders coming together, breaking up, finding new guys. So it's a weird relationship where you have to live with each other. And you really want to get on with your co-founders, guys, because you're going to be working with them side by side, maybe 15 hours a day for the next 4 years. There's tense times, there's good times, and you have to be able to write out the And one of the tips I'd say as well is never bring on a co-founder who's not prepared to leave their job to go and do the business with you. It's the biggest thing that I hear from all of our guys coming through saying, I've stood up with a co-founder, you know, they invested half of the business, I didn't do any investing in clip arrangements, what do I do? So really look the guy or the girl in the eyes and say, you know, are you actually going to take the lead with me? Are we going to do this together? Are you committed? And you'll know the people who are really willing to commit to those. Thank you. First 100? We had a really cool little hack that I loved. So we set up, as I said, a really simple page which was to capture a user. Just a simple website, simple type form, no payment. They would come through, they would say, I need a lawyer to help me with a commercial law. Can you connect with someone, give me a reference? I would take that lead, go to LinkedIn, go to every single LinkedIn group that was there, and I would literally say, I have a customer who needs assistance. Can you help me? And I'd get 10, 15 lawyers who would come back and say, absolutely. And I'd just say, fantastic, just something over here, and I'll give you that customer. So I recycled that lead might cost me $10, but then I multiplied it out, it was we're going to try to get lawyers on the other end. And then on the other side, it was just a simple way of, search for us was really big. So we ran a really small campaign from the start, it doesn't have to be a lot of people to start search.
Currently you have around 650 lawyers in the database, right?
That's right, we've got about 650 lawyers, 20,000 businesses, and growing.
Do you help with patents in company? Like if someone has a patents?
Sorry, I think that
patents?
Do we do patents?
Yeah.
We do, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very expensive, very complex. Have an chat to Hey. We did, and one of the things that I think was a benefit for us in those days was we were actually a colonised business, so they had a whole raft of jobs that with Wulff. A lot of people I know will outsource. There's a lot of outsourcing opportunities. Not always the best way to go. You've got to be careful, but it's a cheaper way of getting off the ground. But again, ask yourself if you really have to build that platform. You can't keep it that moving for as long as possible. If all you have to do is put a front end together, getting a nice web design, sticking on WordPress, gravity forms, Google Analytics, business in the box. So try and avoid that as much as possible, unless it's obviously, in some business models, it's impossible.
Alrighty guys, we'll wrap it up with Damien there.
Thanks, guys.
I'd also like to add a quick little ASES plug here. Damien was mentioning the importance of having a little, elevator pitch. I'd just like to remind everyone our elevator pitch is closing this Sunday, so that's the one we have the potential to win up to $150. With that being said though, at the end of this session we're opening up another one where the first prize has potential to win up to $10,000. So there's 5 judges, each giving $2,000 to the best idea. Those submissions are due week 8 and will be evaluated week 11. So just bear that in mind, guys. Alright? Of course, yeah.
Sorry guys, one of the things I was going to say as well is getting experience at a startup is a really good way of understanding if you want to go for something and do it. We have a huge internship program. We're always looking for new people to come along. Doesn't matter if you're 1 day a week, you want to do an intensive session of 5 days, if you want to do 3 months of this as a proper internship. We're really open to it. We're always looking for new people to come on board, and we look at an array of different things, from marketing into data analytics, through to content marketing, all sorts of stuff. So if you are interested, feel free to drop me a line. It's just Damien@LawPath.com.au, Damien @LawPath.com.au, and we'll have a chat. Cheers.
How about that, guys? We'll also include all the speakers' details and hopefully their slides, if that's okay with you guys. We'll upload those onto the page. Alrighty, so I'd like to introduce our second speaker. So Wulff is the co-founder and CEO of Startup Muster, the largest survey of startups in Australia. So Startup Muster comprehensively captures the progress, challenges and opportunities of startups in Australia. One's love for statistics started at Macquarie University, where she was a student, completing a Bachelor of Applied Finance and Bachelor in Economics, which led to her work at the Australian Bureau of Statistics. One is passionate about female entrepreneurs and founders and an advocate for women in entrepreneurship. She advises a number of startups and enjoys organising and mentoring at hackathons. Could everyone please give a warm welcome to Wulff?
Hey everyone. This is really interesting. I'm back at Macquarie Uni, and I wasn't here just too long ago. So it's really been a walk down memory lane this afternoon. So yes, I'm from Startup Muster, and today I want to talk a bit about Startup Muster, but really I was reflecting on what I would have loved to know back when I was at uni. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that side of things. Okay, so Startup Muster, we founded in 2013, and what it is it's a comprehensive survey of Australian startups. We create reliable, relevant and timely statistics that have not been available in Australia up until we've come along. We were able to build this, my co-founder and I, because I worked at the Bureau of Statistics. I understood the classification systems, different survey rounds that they did, and I was able to pinpoint why they couldn't do what we're going to do. So essentially, we're the ASES of startups. And so my journey, it's taking a while. So yes, this is me only a couple of years ago, and to make it clear, I turned 28 3 weeks ago. So I was at Macquarie Uni doing applied finance, economics, 1, 2, 3, 4 nights. I had a toga, conception day, and I was just enjoying student life pretty much. Didn't know what a startup was, didn't get involved in tech, and pretty much coasted my way through doing study and enjoying myself. So I look back on it now, and yes, I enjoyed myself, but I really didn't take advantage of what the university could offer me. So I made some good friends, like Stats 101 was a really good opportunity for that, but I didn't really get involved. I saw it as a really big place full of random faces that I'd never see again. And then when I started working, and I'm walking around the city in the afternoon at lunch, and I'm seeing all these people that I remember from university, and they're all now working in corporates, or they're working somewhere in the city, and those are missed opportunities to have actually built my network early on. And so what I'd recommend in this case is, this is a microcosm. It's an opportunity where you're going to meet people that are going to go into all different facets of life, and really take the time to get to know people in your courses, people that you see, because you never know, especially when you work as an entrepreneur or you transition between different industries, how valuable these people will become in your life. And to that extent as well, when you're thinking about your lecturers and your tutors, I ghosted. I did not know one tutor's name. I remember one lecturer, Wiley Bradford, and he was awesome, and he will not add me on LinkedIn because he does not remember who I am. So I think, if you're thinking about a startup idea, or you've got something in play and it's related to maybe insurance or statistics, go up to your lecturer or your tutor. They're a couple of years in front of you. They're a knowledge expert in this area, and really pick their brains and just buy them a coffee. Put yourself out there, because you're not going to have this easy access to so many different people when you're out in the bigger world. That's when people start going, oh, what do you want to know that for? What's in it for me? And it gets a bit more difficult. And that as well, if you've actually got a startup or you've got an idea, and this is the time to test it. So when I had my first startup, I actually lived right across from Sydney Uni. So I was working normally, got home from work early, put on uni clothes, went to Sydney Uni, and said, oh, I'm doing this for my class, I've got to do this survey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And I got 98% of people said yes. And so this is the time to test, validate, just, build your network. And, so that's that point. Okay. Yes. Own your future. This is a great design one, but when I started here, it was great. It was doing economics and applied finance, Wulff on Wall Street type of mentality, no global financial crisis. We're all going to just go through the motions and corporate and graduate positions. Halfway through, that's when global financial crisis hit. So by the time that we were all ready to get those graduate roles, there weren't really any there. And you had to start to think, oh no, what are my options? I've just spent the last 4 or 3 years kind of, in the bubble of study, not really thinking about maybe I'm going to have to go a different route than just the standard way. And in doing that, it's pretty easy. These days, even more so than even 4 or 5 years ago, you've got LinkedIn, you've got fantastic private Facebook groups, you've got opportunities to really reach out externally and start to build your network through sharing and posting. So many people on LinkedIn are able to build their profile because they comment on things that are shared by companies that they're interested in, or in industries they're interested in, or they share some content, and that's how you start to build networks. And when people go to Google you, when they want to meet up with you because you're asked to go and have a conversation with them, they will Google you and they will read your LinkedIn profile and they will sum you up from that. So build your own future by really taking ownership of who you want to be now and working towards that, and not sitting back, kicking back, thinking that's something I can think about when I'm graduated or 6 months before I graduate. Luckily enough, I actually managed to get a graduate role, but I know that a lot of my friends struggle. So don't put your future in someone else's hands. Yes. Okay. Face up to it. I have a fear of public speaking. I have a fear of standing up in front of people because when I was a teenager, I broke my foot on stage at the Opera House during a performance in ballet. So that's probably one of the most embarrassing things that can happen to a person. So after that, I kind of went, I'm okay with stepping out of my, I'm okay with stepping back. I didn't want to put myself in any kind of situations where I'd have to test or put myself in an uncomfortable position. But ultimately, that's kind of denial and it doesn't really exist. And now that I'm looking at what I'm doing, I wish I would have had the time at university to choose the units that I knew I would have to do presentations in, and actually choose units where I knew I'd have to do group work. Because it's at that time when you develop those skills, those soft skills that, will help you in negotiating equity or determining who you want as your co-founder and what you want to do next. And also being able to pitch, like getting up in front of a room of investors and really having to try and sell yourself, or getting in front of a minister and them saying you've got 30 minutes with them and then you find out you have 8 and you've got to be able to just be on. This is a time where you can fail safely, if you want to put it anyway, and gain that experience so that when you get to that hard spot, you go, it's okay, I've already done this before, I've got it. So those are the things, and it doesn't have to be public speaking, it can be in numerous things. You think about your weaknesses and just literally go after them so that you can fail safely and, pretty much try to combat them as best as you can. Okay. So those are the things I would tell myself. As a female founder, a lot of people are interested in female founders now, and women in tech and women in entrepreneurship. And I am very supportive of people entering the tech sector, people starting startups, irrespective of gender. And it's difficult for everyone, irrespective of gender. But one of the crux that we're all having to deal with is this idea of unconscious bias. And that is where we don't even realize that we're leading to, our actions or our thoughts are going to actually lead to this perpetuation of gender inequality. And this is what I'm talking about. Those kind of things, where you have boards and boards of senior companies or panel discussions where it's all men. And unconscious bias is not just a male thing, women do it too. And we're talking about the language that we use and how we interact with each other. And it's about being mindful of that. So one thing when I talk to a lot of women that want to mentor me is that there's a thing about a narrative. So when a woman talks about, she can say she's been recommended to see a lawyer. She will put it in her narrative that Barry suggested that she goes to this lawyer because she's dealing with this and it was a great outcome. Well, a guy will just go, oh, I went and saw that lawyer. And what's the important part of that is the promotion of the people that actually are helping you is vital. Because irrespective of whether you're a man or not, or a woman, you need to be promoting those that are assisting you and really giving back to them in different ways. Because the more that people hear, oh, Sally helped you with this, and Joe helped you with that, and Anne-Marie did this, it starts to change the narrative. And for women as well, it's not just, it's the language that we use and being able to understand that we can have assertive and strength language without causing offense. And so this is, I think it's less prevalent within the younger generation, but as you go out and you're going to be dealing with people within different age demographics, especially within corporate, a lot of that unconscious bias is literally ingrained in those corporations, and you will be dealing with trying to get funding from them, so you need to be mindful of them and how you can slowly not be taken in to also be like that, but start to steer it in a different direction. So I'm kind of more action orientated. So I know I've spoken at you guys now, but if you want to get involved with the ecosystem, with startups, with entrepreneurship, let's talk about that. So the ecosystem is probably one of the easiest things to tap into. You can attend hackathons, you can do internships, you can volunteer at hackathons, you can go to Friday night pitches at pretty much any of the co-working spaces or incubator spaces around Sydney and just walk in and go, I've got an idea. And people want to hear your idea and they want to help you. It's one of the most supportive communities I've ever come across. It's slightly to the point of potentially being cultish, but you don't have to pay an upfront fee, you don't have to, wear a certain tie. You literally walk in and go, I got this idea. And from that you build those connections and you start finding people that are like-minded, and that's when you start working together and you can develop your ideas and move on. Like I said with Club Mac, test, 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 validate, use your resources here, and you'll also end up enjoying it. You'll meet a bunch of people that you never thought you were going to meet. And also, when you're studying, if you can apply real life scenarios to the theory that you're studying, say accounting or law, if you've got a business idea, you'll be able to retain what you're learning so much more easily because you're thinking about how you can apply it in real life. So that's going to help you marks. About removing the bias, so that's promoting those that promote you and being mindful of how your language, how your actions may lead to hopefully positive consequences and change as we move on in life. And the external things. So what we're talking about here is LinkedIn, like, share, blog, have a voice. You don't need to have this corporate experience or this like professional experience to actually know something. Times are changing, so put yourself out there. Try to get a mentor or as many mentors as you can. Way that you can find a mentor is through all of the ecosystem things. You might just naturally connect with someone. They might know a lot about an industry you're interested in. There is no harm in asking, can I buy you a coffee, and just seeing where things go from there. And yeah, just literally you got to take every opportunity, and especially in the Australian ecosystem because we're highly risk averse. It's already tough enough, so there's no room for standing on the side and just hoping that someone will recognize you or ask you to stand up and pitch. You literally have to put yourself out there, and it's highly uncomfortable for most, including myself, but you just got to do it. Thank you, confetti burst. Oh, I didn't do it, it dissolved, damn it. Okay, yeah, sorry, this is going to take a little bit of time as well, so that's my Twitter. If you're thinking about Friday night walk-ins, Fish Cronin's is a co-working space in the city. Mirror D is an accelerator program. They're open on Friday nights. Upcoming hackathons, you've got Farm Hack in April, you've got Gov Hack, which is a national hackathon in July. Ty and I were organisers of it last year, and he did an amazing job. Like-minded bitches drinking wine, that is a Facebook group as well as a real-life group for women that are business founders and female founders. We have 2 like-minded bitches in the room right here. I say join it. There's also a Facebook group called Sydney Startups where you can post whatever you want, as well as Hackathons Australia will keep you up to date with what hackathons are on. Podcast, Twisters, that is this week in Startups Australia. It will pretty much give you a rundown of different startups that are going on. Mark Pesci runs it, he's an awesome guy. Exodus is a really good one. Media outlets, Startup Daily, Startup Smart, always got good content, and a couple of books. That one's really good if you're thinking about anything to do with Twitter or social media. So, yeah, that's me.
You guys, so we'll have a bit of question time. First up, let's thank Monica, because that was honestly a fantastic presentation. You know, a lot of life lessons. Guys, make sure you take on board what Monica was saying and all our other speakers. Make sure you do get involved because it's surprising. You don't want to waste your time here. You're not just here to coast by and get a degree. It's really about getting involved and you're not having to make up for lost time here. I don't need to say that. Monica said it, so we'll have a few questions and answers if anyone's got any.
Actually, I forgot to mention, I met my co-founder through a friend of mine that I met at uni. And it just so happened we all went out to dinner together and he started telling me about his software company and I had no idea about startups or technology at that point. And then it just rolled on from there.
Questions, guys?
And the startup muster report, which you guys kind of released, is there anything of interesting you want to tell us, which might be relevant?
Well, actually, there was a statistic about outsourcing, which we were talking about before. 69% of startups outsource projects. 50% of those projects are fulfilled within Australia. Also, 83% of startup founders have a tertiary education. So what we're looking at when we look at the report from last year is that we see that founders usually have a tertiary education. They usually found their startups in around the ages of 25 to 45. So they might go off and have some experience and then utilize that experience and develop their business from there. And the biggest challenges that we're facing are to do with funding, taxes, as well as getting the right talent, so a lot of tech talent. if you are a coder, if you have that kind of technical skills, or if you have a desire to learn, do it. Okay, so that's a report. We don't write commentary, so we're very much like the ABS. We literally put it out there so that people can utilize it to whatever means that they need to. So if something sings from that they want to highlight, then we just, and also, you know what, we don't really have the time to read these days, so it's like beautiful graphics and just whatever you want. That's an interesting one because I was speaking with a guy, so I work out of the co-working space Fish Burners, and he's 23, and I'm very happy with my degree because my degree led me to do to work at the ABS, which then led me to do this. And, but for him, it wasn't what he wanted, and it was essentially because his personality style aligned much more with his entrepreneurial mindset. Also, the foundation of his virtual reality app was built from experience that he had done in surveying. So while he left university, he still had an experience within a niche area that he was able to draw on to develop his app. So I think the university is an opportunity where you can meet everyone that you want to meet. So when you look at the Israeli ecosystem, one of the key things that people say has driven to their being such success is the fact that they all have to do army service together. So you have Israelis from different walks of life coming together. They build strong trust. They also get experience usually within cybersecurity. And then after that, guess what? They've got these bonds and then they go off and build cybersecurity startups. So it depends what you want to get out of it. I'm a fan of the education that I've had, and it just depends on where you want to go. But lessons of life are just as important. Yeah, so we're redesigning the survey at the moment, and we're hoping to get it out really soon. And it's essentially, up until the end of last year, we were doing this very much on a volunteer basis, and then I've come on full time. So, like we were talking about before, I quit my corporate job. So I went from the ABS into pharmaceuticals, very close to this university, and then I quit that job to start Startup Master full time. And since then, we've been really doing a lot of engagement to make sure that we're capturing, we're really asking the right questions. And so the survey will be out very soon. And I encourage anyone that has a startup to take part in it, because these are the stats that Wyatt Roy and the innovation ideas boom are calling on to make the decisions about where they're going to put funding or where they want to put resources.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Australian startup ecosystem and maybe talk about which one's stronger in terms of the city? So I think Sydney's stronger than Melbourne, but can you just give us a good landscape overview?
Yeah, that's really interesting because I was in Melbourne yesterday and the day before, and what I found are some real differences between the various states. It's actually, it is the industries that they want to specialize in, but it's also how the ecosystem interrelates with each other. So Melbourne has the most meetups out of any state and the highest quantity of meetup participants. So they have meetups that have over 6,000 people that are on the meetup group list. And in Melbourne, and Victoria, they have a lot of, they have like 49 co-working spaces. That's, nearly double that of Sydney, even though Sydney is quite a bit larger. So for me, it's more about understanding those drivers. I feel that South Australia has a lot of potential, but it's kind of fallen off the wayside a bit. That is, could potentially be to do with government support. But what's very aligned with New South Wales and Queensland is that they're very strong on building up their rural and regional startup hubs. So you've got in Wagga Wagga a brand new co-working space, and one in Albury, and then there's one in Toowoomba and Mackay. My special love is health tech. So, I look a lot at what's happened in Melbourne has always been the health tech hub, but now suddenly Victoria's come on board, and then there's a big thing about Stone and Chalk and Sydney really being the fintech leader. But then Melbourne's also got a lot of fintech. So, and WA is doing things too. So it's just, I'm hoping that Tasmania is going to come up a bit. They've got a brand new co-working space there, and we're yet to see too much from NT, but it's going to happen someday. Pretty much anywhere you go in Australia, you will be able to find an ecosystem. Just depends on where you want to live.
What sort of difficulties did you face when you started your startup? Like everyone goes through this hard time. So what sort of difficulties did you face?
We're a funny one because we don't commercialize. We don't make money. And so a lot of the questions, especially around, you know, how do you commercialize, you know, how do you make money? So we're kind of funny in that sense. One of our biggest things was essentially we're asking a lot of people to give their time and energy to fill out something that they're not going to see a direct benefit from initially. So it's that whole entire communication engagement piece with the startup community to go, well, this is kind of like exercise. You don't enjoy doing it, but you love seeing the results. And making them aware and the real communication about how important it is to have these relevant, reliable, and timely statistics. So from our end, we've got me, who worked at the Bureau of Statistics. We've got a methodologist from the Bureau of Statistics as well, who is also a graduate from Macquarie University. And we've spent a lot of our time doing survey methodology and making it as simple and as easy and enjoyable as possible to fill in the survey. So our biggest thing has been getting that point across, as well as making it clear to people that we're not making money off of you providing your hard-earned data to us. So it's a bit different from all the other startups, where it's like sell.
So there's no revenue in the business?
We work off strategic partnerships. And like we said, we're the Australian Bureau of Statistics of the startup. So Google has been awesome, and actually Google do a wonderful female founders event. Sorry guys, you can come too, I'm sure. And UTS, one of the other universities, has, and yeah, we could love to talk to Macquarie about that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks guys.
Alrighty guys, I'd just like to remind everyone at the end of this event there'll be pizza and drinks. Not alcoholic of course, but make sure you stick around for that. So our final guest speaker is Huynh, who is an experienced digital product designer, avid front-end developer, effective digital marketer, and passionate hackathon organizer. Ty has a breadth of experiences and knowledge of the startup ecosystem through working with the prominent startup incubator Pollinizer and the venture capitalist Sydney Seed Fund. He's organised Startup Weekend in Sydney for 100 plus participants, expanded Startup Weekend to Gosford, organised GovPack Sydney for 120 plus attendees, and the inaugural virtual reality hackathon for Year 9 and 10 students at the Powerhouse Museum. Being entrepreneurial himself, Ty co-founded Kapcher and Smiley Snap. Kapcher is a curated marketplace for photography and videography services. Kapcher has become the most voted Australian startup in the Global Startup Battle and ranked among the top 15 voted under the e-commerce category in the Global Startup Battle. Sorry, there's a lot to talk about. Kapcher also received runner-up at Sydney Startup Weekend and featured in Startup Smart and Startup Daily. Alright, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ty up.
I was so glad that he was saying that you guys stay back for Outlook. It's like everybody's going to be leaving after this. Can you start with the first line? Thank you. Oh, you just have to go out.
Yeah, that makes better.
I was really surprised that when they asked me to come present, it's like, oh, send me your PowerPoint. I'm like, what? We have Google Slide. Why are we using PowerPoint? I was like, so, high tech guys. Cool. I don't think that's the first one. Oh, wait, it is, sorry. Okay, cool. So, I know you guys have been sitting for about roughly an hour and a half, and as they said, the best for last. I don't think this is not the best. You probably will get better, but I really want this next 15 minutes, a few more conversations, getting to know you guys a bit better, and actually giving you guys what you guys need. Damien has incredible experience. I feel very intimidated when he came. Was like, I should go first. But he was like, went on, like, damn. I haven't exited any of my business. I don't have that many years of experience in startups. So I think on the flip side, I'm very closer to you guys. So we do a bit of experiments and interaction. So stay with me. It's going to be fun. Can I get you guys to kind of close your eyes? Yeah, please close your eyes. Sound very skeptical. Please close your eyes. All right. Anybody heard of Tinder, right? Yes? Oh, don't lie. All right, so I want to do a bit of, kind of raise your hand if you have normal Tinder and using Tinder right now actively. Okay, open your eyes. There's like 2 people. Come on, guys, you guys are lying. Like, only 2 people in here use Tinder. 3. I'm assuming that you guys are all using Tinder, but you guys are too kind of like afraid to say. So if you guys use Tinder, you guys probably know that finding the right match for you is sometimes really hard. You're really excited, it's quite right. At the start you kind of like be selective, but towards the end you just swipe right every single one. So that every time you get a match, you feel like, oh yes, I'm validated, somebody wants me. So what I've been working on is called Kapcher. It has nothing to do with you get out.
Yes.
That's alright. The 4th one? Yeah. So what I'm currently working on is called Kapcher. It's not getting you matches, but in a similar way that we try to find the right videographer, the right video production team for businesses. So Kapcher started, like he was saying earlier, we started from a competition. So I literally got out of uni, I went overseas. I think from my kind of blur, one thing you guys probably noticed is I'm super random. So I do many things. One of the things that not many people are aware of is actually finished uni, Sydney Uni, accounting and finance. So I started off with accounting and finance, which is awesome. I really liked it. I was for 1 year. But then I actually took the entire year off and did volunteering. And then towards my parents quite happy about it, not really. They're quite worried. I was like, why are you taking a year off doing all of these things? And then I actually came back, and on my way back from volunteering, they was excited. My parents were really excited. I was like, oh, it's fine, you're going to get a real job now. Not really. I actually booked another flight ticket to Egypt for another project. So in there was like a massive conference for 800 people. And I think the reason why I'm telling you guys this is like, in a lot of startup world, what I've seen so far is people come from very different backgrounds. And I think one of the things that I always tell everybody, even my sister, is like, don't worry about what you are doing and currently doing. It can change. And like we were saying, I'm completely not doing accounting and finance. I actually took a course. I learned how to design and coding because I actually, so Kapcher started off out of competitions. And we went really well. We did quite okay, like any competition. Startup Weekend, which I encourage you guys to do. It was a fantastic thing for university students. It give you guys a lot of exposure, but also really safe environments to kind of validate your idea. And also find people. Like I think some of you guys like, oh, how do you find co-founders? That's how I actually get my startup up and running. But it wasn't, I think one of the misleading things, it wasn't just going straight up from there. We actually, when we finished, in the first 2 months, my co-founder left. We managed to actually get the business up and running because I just graduated from uni. Last time I checked, I didn't work in corporate, I did not save up. Worst Asian ever. I never saved up for anything. So I was on my bank account. Like, if you guys in here was like, I haven't even barely graduated or graduated in something that has nothing to do with technology, me. So I'm on the same page with you, or have zero co-founding skill, coding skill, programming skill, design skill, me as well. And also, your bank account is not more than, I would say, 6 digits. It's a 6, 7 digits. It's like less than $10,000, right? That's me as well. So, but the thing is, you can still start it. And what I did was I just went to Startup Weekend because I think that was fantastic. Way originally it was for me to kind of like, just Mon was talking earlier, to kind of plug into the system, learn as much as I can, but over the time it was kind of kick off. So it actually took longer than normal to get this up because I have zero coding skill. I actually make every single mistake that you can possibly can. I actually outsource like less than 30% of people, which you should be a little bit careful. We can have that conversation later. Outsource didn't work out, didn't have enough money, so I ended up like having wavering for the first 3 months. It was really funny because my sister is actually richer than Em. She managed to go to 2 jobs at the restaurant, which is quite not a high point in my life at the moment, at the time. So I think overall, what I was, sorry for really random stuff on the slide. So overall, I think that you guys just have to dream really big, but then happy to fail. There's a lot of people that they were saying they look at you and say, oh Ty, you know, you are so brave. The thing is they're not willing to go wavering to do whatever it takes to get this job done. So I think that you guys don't worry about like what you guys need. Like a lot of things like, do you need capital, do you need a co-founder, do you need technical things, that all of these that kind of tend to get you guys to say no. But if you are interested, if you're passionate about an idea, and you're just like, okay, I actually want to get it up and running and actually see when it's going to work, take the first step, and then try to get it through. Okay, so can you go out, guys? Can you go? Okay, I think one of the slides is not there. That's alright. Can you go back to the first slide, please? Okay. So one of the things that I want to leave you guys with, I know you guys are like, what is this slide doing? Like all the slides are all over the place. One of the things I was really worried because I was trying to change the slide because Damien and Mom was giving me so profound advice, and I was like, okay, I cannot repeat the same thing. So I was like trying to change, but apparently I didn't save it, so much take right there. So one of the things that I really want to leave you guys, before you guys leave, this room is really, really unreasonable. Not in a bad way, but in a way that if something that kind of sounds reasonable to not do something, like try to be unreasonable about it. I think probably Damien and Mom would agree that there's so many moments when you're starting your startup journey, everybody would think that it's unreasonable to do that, it's unreasonable to expect that, it's unreasonable for you to go through that. It's okay, like just be unreasonable and get that done. Okay, so that's enough about me gobbling. Now it's more having conversation with you guys. So raise your hand if you are in your final year of uni. Yeah. Second year. First year. Okay, so you have a variety. How many of you guys are in commerce? Accounting, finance, raise your hand. So roughly half. How many of you guys are in engineering, programming? There's like less than half. So this is the reality when you enter the startup ecosystem, that there's a lot of non-tech people. So how many of you guys are actually having an idea, about to start an idea, or thinking about, or already step one into their executions? So first one, how many of you guys have an idea? Yeah, that's great. That's more than half. How many of you guys kind of like have an idea and take the first step? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I just want to quickly get you guys to just, sorry, what's your name? Andrew. Do you want to quickly give an elevator pitch just to practice? Oh, you don't have an elevator pitch?
What's your startup?
Yeah, what's your startup? Go for it. You have 30 seconds. Oh, you don't have one?
Not this one.
It's just basically similar to that. Very similar to that. There's not as much
sort of forward and get more live products.
Right. So maybe you need to work on the elevator pitch for the competition, which is ending today or when is it?
So the $150 one is Sunday, but the $10,000 one is okay. You got that.
Anyone else want to give an elevator pitch to? Oh yes. Okay. That gentleman raised his hands first. So you just say your name.
So my name's Simon Murray, and I was part of the Shark Tank competition last year. I'm working on a men's fashion subscription box which automates the process of men's shopping. So what we do every month, we send out a box of clothes, customized to your stylist every time. You don't have to go shopping and buy up lots of stuff. That's what I'm working on currently.
Oh, that's awesome. What's the name of the style?
It's called Create Style Code. Create Style Code.
Create Style.
Create Style Code.
Create Style.
Code.
Code.
Yeah.
Create Style. Code. Code. So anyone else? Just give me one minute.
Hi, I'm Yoshi, and my idea is, my MVP currently is like the idea of finding the right movie for the situation you're currently in. So most of the time when you're on Netflix or like looking for a movie with your girlfriend or a man's night, you kind of have like an idea of what you're going to watch, but you don't know whether it's an action movie or a funny one. But when you look like at top 10 lists, like for comedy movies or like for action movies, you sort of know which films you're fitting your criteria and which films are not really fitting on our idea. So in the end, what it comes down to like really asking the right questions about the situation you're currently in and the feelings you're currently like feeling and want to like express in the film, and therefore like find a film on that criteria basically.
And are you looking for teammates? What are you doing?
So basically, because I didn't know any coding before like 3 months ago, I basically started working on the MVP because I wanted to do it app-based, because normally you have your phone with you when you're at the movie selection, and to do a website it's kind of clunky because you can go down, you have to pay for the servers. I wanted to like really bootstrap it and like not invest a lot of it before my equity because I don't have so much. So I try to make it with the local resources everybody has, and everybody has basically a smartphone and an algorithm you can run on and a database can be stored on. So that's currently the plan, and I'm currently still in the process of it. And since I'm only here for half a year, I'm not really looking for people here, since a co-founder in Australia and me working in Germany wouldn't be the exact perfect setup for that, but I'm having my eyes open and in Germany. So
that's it. Alright, so he's definitely looking for people to join his team, and if you guys are interested, go for it. So what I've just done right there is when you enter the startup state, like startup ecosystem or startup networking event, like don't worry to pitch. Like even if it's bad, like my first pitch was bad, my second pitch was bad. I'm still really bad at it. But the thing is that if you pitch enough, it's give you enough more practice that you never pitched before. And I think one of the other things that I find really useful is that don't worry to put your hands up. It's really easy to kind of like, you know what, I'm not there yet, I'm really intimidated. It's absolutely okay. Like, if you don't put your hands up, nobody would know that you're looking for a co-founder, nobody would know that you're looking for, funding. So I think that's kind of my gist, and I really want to open up conversations to you guys ask questions. So for more, I think you guys asked a lot of majority of questions. I'm more onto the designing and also the funding part, because I'm a Pollinizer, which is an incubator program. Or they used to be an incubator program, and I've been working with big corporate to incubate internal ideas for companies. They're still incubating their own companies, but they're not doing it externally anymore. And then I work with City Seed Fund, which is basically investing in companies who doesn't even have, one of our companies doesn't even have funding funds to us. So it's really an early stage. So happy to answer any questions that you guys have in terms of those. Yes?
Do you help in seed funding? Something like that?
I'm sorry?
Do you help in seed funding?
Good question. For Kapcher, we received some seed funding, but we haven't raised any form of seed funding. We actually, in terms of money, we're really lucky. We actually received money from a lot of competitions and stuff, which is really cool. But one of the things that kind of keep us going is the money from the New South Wales grant. So we applied for something called MVP grant. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They have something called MVP grant where you apply for it, and then they'll help you. They give you the money up to $50,000 to build your product. $50,000 is a lot of money for building an MVP. If you're smart, you can actually build something that last you for 6 months, you kind of validate your idea. You can build something for less than $2,000, like Damien was saying before, just to test the idea. So on top of that, there's funding from our friends and family. So I think the first few people that you want to raise money with is your friends and family. Then exhort any single possible grant and incubator, accelerator program. Don't get lost into it. Your job is to validate the idea, get customers, but spend enough time to kind of get the grant, get enough gas for you to go. And then the second stage, when you feel like you actually have something tangible, which Kapcher right now is our stage, where we got thousands of dollars of jobs in our platform, Kapcher, that we kind of kickstart our official fundraising. Hopefully that answers your questions.
When an angel investor asks you how much ROI you expect, how do you answer that?
Sorry,
how much investment do you expect?
So anyone doing finance, banking, raise your hand. Yes, thank you. At least I wouldn't say anything that you guys like, no, that's completely wrong time. I did finance at uni, but that was a long time ago. So finance, in terms of investment for early stage tech companies, so I'm stressing early stage tech startup. What that means is very scalable businesses that are using technology. So not a restaurant, not any other types of investments, but these kind of stuff, they're not going to ask for ROI level, at least for early stage or for seed fund, green money. What they normally would ask you is for your traction. That word means that, what is your assets? How smart is your team? How capable is your team? How much capacity your team can actually deliver and execute, because that will all come down to your executions. You give a really shit idea to a good team and they can still manage to turn it around. But you give a brilliant idea to like a really shit team, you give them $10 million, they will still flop. So that's the case. And also for more is that if you have payments, if you have some customers, that will give you more, but they will not ask for ROI in terms of like actual ROI at this stage.
What if they do?
Yeah, good questions. I can't speak for all of them, but for majority of the facilities that I've been working with for the last 12 months, and I've been sitting in all of the investor meetings and they ask questions. Generally, they would like to know your team. That's your number one. The number one thing that majority of investors always looked at. We have a lot of cases where it's a great idea, but they're not sold on the team. It will still fail through. So number one is your team. Make sure that, if you're a solo founder, you can still make it. There's no rules in the startup land. Anything can happen. The challenge is if you're a solo founder, investors are not normally quite bullish on it. They're not extremely enthusiastic coming in knowing there's only one person, so if you literally just leave, there's nothing else to do. So generally they will require about 2 or 3 people. More than 3 is too many, because if you make a decision in the early stage, you're going to get paralyzed. So 2 to 3 is the best, and then you need to have a variety: coder, designer, hacker, and sales. Yeah.
I think we also need to realize that investors are not these omnipotent beings, and that you also have a choice in who you want to invest in. So if they're asking you questions which seem to go against the grain of what Ty's been saying, maybe they're not really quality investors, especially at the seed round, where someone might be investing using superannuation money, where they haven't actually had a background in finance, they haven't had a background. So as they're going to do their research on you, you do the research on them, and you're completely in your right to also find out, what their background is, what have they invested in, because ultimately then you'll be able to make the right decision for your startup, so they don't have all the power.
Is registering a startup a tedious task here in Sydney? I mean, if I want to register my startup and get a license, is it really difficult?
By license you mean company registration?
Exactly.
Well, it's only $550 and it takes you 4 minutes to register your company. And that's hopefully answer your questions. One of my friends, this is a shameless plug, not for me, but for my friend, it's called easycompanies.com. Basically, you go on there, spend 4 minutes, you go register your company. From my experience, I literally registered my company wrong when I had the idea. That's the worst mistake ever. Don't register a company until, well, unless you're an engineer and you're building something, insane, and you want to have a proper corporation to protect, to get your patents and stuff. Any other kind of idea at the early stage, work on an idea a little bit before you incorporate, because when you incorporate, then you have to deal with like equity and your teams and stuff. Spend about a month on the idea before you incorporate the company. But to answer your questions, $550, 4 minutes, and you'll have a company. You'll be director of a company.
How did you learn how to code design when you see that back?
Yes. That's pretty cool. Oh, also Shadow Bloods, talk to LawPath. I think they would be able to help you with registering your company as well. Is it? Yes. Also, LawPath is here. Learning how to code design. So my co-founder and I spent 4 months. We work on Upwork. We use all of these outsourcing things. Maybe it was just because we're not smart enough. But in our case, it's so hard because we have zero tech understanding. We didn't understand what CSS, HTML, so on and so forth. 4 months in, spent a bit of amount of money, didn't get anything work. All of this stuff coming up, it's just so average that I don't want to use. So my co-founder and I decided that we actually want to be educated. So we started off as paying $20 a month using one of these called Team Tree House. I use a lot of them, Code School, Team Tree House, Codecademy, if you guys have heard of them, they're free. Codecademy is free, Team Tree House $20. I'm not working for any of those people. They're all free. We just started off as let's learn to see what they are so we can communicate with the designer, the developer easier, and we actually know what they're doing. Because all of that was like, oh yeah, it works, it doesn't work. It's more communication behind whether it works, it doesn't work. I would say that to actually achieve the level that you can go out and get paid, which is where I'm at right now, you would have to dedicate at least 2 to 3 hours a day minimum and stick to it. I would recommend, so my co-founder actually went back to uni. We used to work at co-working space. We're like, okay, you know what, we don't want to spend more money, we want to spend zero money. So we went back to uni, we used the facility library, we come there 9 a.m, we finish at 5 p.m, go to the library, pretend to be a student, work there actually coding and design from 9 to 5. And we just learn it as much as we can. And we just learn what we like. So unlike university, I love university by the way, unlike university when you learn by yourself, one of the perks is you can choose whatever you want. One of the downfalls is you have to have discipline because there will be no assignments and exams and stuff. Find a friend. Find a friend to start with. It's much easier when you're starting with a friend.
So I'm good with visual so what do you think you're handling multiple projects at a time? Would you focus on one thing and specialize it? Or would you do multiple projects at a time?
Are you talking about coding or designing?
Like you have a full publishing company and then you have a physical product. Would you focus on one?
Yeah, so I started off with something called GenesFit, which is really good areas. GenesFit is a company we register that company as well. So GenesFit is custom-made jeans. So I had a problem of finding jeans that fit me. Obviously, nothing fits me in Australia. Even the kids section have problems with that. So it's really frustrating. And then when I went back to Vietnam, which is where I'm originally from, is that people can just custom-made jeans like easily. Like it's not a problem. And it's here. Why is it a problem? So I started off with GenesFit. And then Kapcher came in because I went to the competition, so I started Kapcher at the same time. I thought like I was the top of the world, like nailed this, I'm gonna be, Facebook in like 1 year, like one of these will hit the jackpot and I'll be a millionaire. None of that works. So answer your questions. I think at the start it's okay to try out many different ideas because I think it's like getting married. You don't know which one you're married, so you just have to go out and do as much as you can, and hopefully you find the perfect match. But until you actually commit into a relationship, commit to one. Because you don't want to have like 3 relationships at the same time. I don't think that would work. I wish it worked, because you can have more relationships, but generally it doesn't. Like I don't think it works. At least I couldn't make it work. Anyway, so in a way, in that kind of sense, once you found that your relationship, then commit to just one. Because it will take, like, I think Damien will attest to it, it will take everything that you've got, even things that you don't think that you have, but somehow you find out you have them. And especially things like, can you stay awake for 38 hours without sleeping until the demo day or until the photo day, or can I actually get anything up with $0? Can I ask somebody to put in $10,000 in my bank account without any distractions and stuff? So yeah, coming to one relationship and being monogamous. I think media is really a funny thing, so I would say go to competitions. At the very early stage, go to as many competitions as you can, because you can get a lot of support, you get a lot of attention. In terms of media, I think for us, we were lucky to go to competition, we sent out to people who love competition, so I probably would say that go to competition you can. If you can't, and there's no competition with media, they want something new. So for us, when we pitch the media, we normally pitch an angle. So when we pitch Kapcher, we pitch the angle of we are the only, or we are the only field, one of the 3 Australian startups in the global startup battle, and they loved it because there's nothing else for them. So, and we're dealing with media at Sydney Seed Fund. They always want something different. So if you can find your normal startup, if this is your pitch, find something that you can pivot in the pitch. So say for example, Uber is really good with media. They always have these random shit like Uber cat, Uber dog, Uber food. That has nothing to do with Uber at times, but that's how they kind of get you interested, because it's all about the audience, not so much about you getting published, but whether anyone even open and read the article. So you just have to kind of be a bit more, like, dress yourself up when you're interested. Awesome, thank you so much. Apology for that long conversation, but if you have any questions in terms of, I would say that seed funding is a bit early for you guys, because I'm guessing you guys are working your idea. But I think that the focus will be on how do you validate your ideas, when you feel like you're ready to take the next step. I think you can definitely talk to me, Damien, and more about it, but happy to take any questions.
Excellent speech and the engaging conversation at the end as well. Well, that wraps up the first speaker series for session 1. Actually, no, we're going to do a concours present gifts. So as you guys know, the speakers we've had today all came volunteer. They weren't paid anything. They're very busy, so this is extremely generous of them to just dedicate 2 hours of their lives, for us, so we can actually receive this excellent information and hopefully put it towards our careers. So I'd like everyone to join together to actually thank them all one final time as well. Alright guys, so there'll also be pizza outside in 5 minutes and drinks as well, so let's stay around and have some of that and hopefully all network together. So thank you everyone for coming, you guys really made this event. We wouldn't have done it if we didn't have people coming, so thank you all so much. Alright, have a good afternoon guys.
Get this